Then David and all the men with him took hold of their clothes and tore them.
Yep.
They mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword.
So my version reads, Therefore David took hold of his own clothes and tore them, and so did all the men who were with him. And they mourned and wept and fasted until evening for Saul and for Jonathan his son, for the people of the Lord and for the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. So to give you a bit of context here, Saul obviously was appointed by God. He was appointed by God to be the first king of Israel. But over time, he fell away in terms of his favor with God. And after a while, God rejected King Saul due to his disobedience in particular. And as following King Saul, what God wanted was for David to take over after Saul. But Saul didn't want this. Saul wanted his son Jonathan to take the reins after him as king. But that was not God's desire. So many times Saul sought out to try and kill David. There's many occasions where he tried to kill David and to again remove him so that Jonathan, his son, would be king after him, Saul. But with that in mind, David could have easily. This passage speaks about Saul's death and the implications of that when he had died, the sorrow and the sadness and the grievance that was happening at that time. And David could have easily, at that point, turned to everyone and said, why do I need to be, sad for this guy? This guy tried to kill me. He's dead. He deserves it. He got his punishment. He could have easily said that. But what did he do? He mourned like everyone else. He wept like everyone else. He grieved like everyone else. And like Abraham, here again, he was a mighty warrior. We all know the story that how he defeated Goliath. Big, strong giant that Goliath was, he still had a strong character, he had a strong heart, and he had a strong personality. And yet, despite that, in this situation, he displayed humility. He had a humble heart. And this humility can be displayed through his sorrow and his public mourning of Saul's death. He too, just like everyone else, was sad and mournful about the death. And again, we go back to our passage for this evening. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And indeed, after that, we can again see that through David's humility, which can be demonstrated through this passage, he once again was blessed. When Jesus came to the earth, there's so many times, what do they refer? There's so many terms we can refer to Jesus as. But one of the terms is son of David. He was in the line of David. So he was certainly blessed. Again, God saw his humble heart. It was not by coincidence that David was chosen to be the heir to the throne after Saul. It wasn't by coincidence. Again, God saw his heart. God saw his humble heart, his heart of humility, and he saw his meekness. And again, he was, I guess, rewarded, you could say, with being appointed as the next king. And through him, again, the Messiah would one day come. So by looking at the example of Abraham and David, what can we learn? What can we learn from this? So just like Abraham and David, if we want to live lives of meekness, we need to seek to uphold humble hearts and exercise self-control, gentleness, and a sense of understanding and compassion towards others. We should not be seeking to fulfill our own personal desires, but rather we should seek to, again, have humble hearts and put others before ourselves. And these, again, are the characteristics that David and Abraham were able to display. They again had this strength under control, which is what meekness speaks about. And again, these two passages show the strength under control that these two individuals had. And this is the type of attitudes and the type of personality and character that we need to exhibit as well.
That's good.
John, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. Alright, so how does this beatitude link with the two previous beatitudes that we've looked at then? Obviously, they all come under this category which we know as the beatitude, but they obviously all link with one another. So in week 2, we looked at the beatitude, blessed are the poor in spirit, which is what Kat talked about. And in particular, we spoke about the importance of knowing and realizing our spiritual poverty. Sometimes we don't even realize and sit down and think, how poor we are without Christ. So we talked about the importance of knowing and realizing our spiritual poverty and completely understanding and comprehending that without Christ we are powerless, we are nothing, and we cannot save ourselves. So that's what we looked at in the first week, realizing that spiritual poverty that we have. And then last week, Amrit looked at blessed are those who mourn. And from studying this beatitude, we should be able to see the importance of not just knowing and realizing our spiritual poverty, but we should also be acting upon this knowledge by grieving our separation from God due to our sinful states. And tonight we studied the beatitude, blessed are the meek. So after studying that tonight, we as individuals, we should be able to understand our spiritual poverty. We should mourn over our sinful state. And out of that, as a result of that, we should therefore be willing to completely surrender and submit our lives to the will of God. Anyone know a guy called A.W. Tozer? Yeah. Heard of him so many times? I'll quote for him. He once said, the meek, listen carefully, gentlemen, listen carefully to this. It's a bit wordy, but I'll go with it. Just listen carefully. The meek man is not a human mouse, afflicted with a sense of his own inferiority. The meek man is not a human mouse, afflicted with a sense of his own inferiority. Rather, he may be in his moral life as bold as a lion and as strong as Samson, but he has stopped being fooled about himself. He has accepted God's estimate of his own life. He knows he is as weak and as helpless as God declared him to be. But he knows at the same time that he is in the sight of God of more importance than angels. In himself, he is nothing, but in God, he is everything. So this evening, genuine, we should seek to once again submit our lives to the will of God. We should seek to humble ourselves before him. We should pray that we do not use our strength to overpower people, to be like that out of control, ferocious fire. But rather we should be a fire that provides just enough strength to provide just enough warmth and light that we need. Yeah? For in ourselves we are nothing, but in God we are everything. For in ourselves we are nothing, but in God we are everything. So I challenge you this week, gentlemen, to really seek to, again, have humble hearts, to really, again, press into displaying humility in your daily lives. Again, that whole idea of showing no retaliation. If someone does something wrong against you, no matter how wrong it may be, to be able to turn the other cheek and forgive that person. I challenge you, genuinely, this week to look into that and pray into that and ask that God will give you humble hearts, or greater humility and a greater spirit of meekness. Let's pray and then we'll go into our